formally or just
Not formally.
paraphrase?
Yes, just casually. Yes. Okay. Now I'm with my friend Jeff and his friend, maybe a little bit more than a friend. Okay. So this is their house. Who is Jeff and what is Jeff? Let's let his friend Sunny to tell us a little bit about him.
About you, but these are
Not
facts.
only me, all the viewers.
I know.
Yeah.
On behalf of all the viewers.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And these are just facts. And in the Irish um, way of doing things, there are facts, but then there's the truth.
Yeah.
So I'll
True
interpret the
facts.
truth.
True facts. Okay.
So from me looking at what's written here, which is about the work of Jeff Wilmott in Warburton, Victoria, okay, and in the late 1960s he had an accident and so it affected his eyes, so he doesn't have much vision. He has, so people who haven't met him before, they get used to looking at this eye because that's the one that really is looking at them, and this one he can't see anything because the I don't know, something, retina's damaged, and this one sees apparently 9% of, but he sees many things, so many
people cannot
things,
see.
yes,
Okay.
and things you don't want him to see, he sees immediately, so it's very tricky. He once found a key in a garden that I had lost, and I said, oh, I've lost that key somewhere. And he just went out, put his hand into a whole lot of foliage and picked it up and said, oh, here it is. So he's got psychic powers.
Just check for
Yeah, anyway.
curiosity. Just a minute.
Yeah.
Who spoke this? So many.
These books, they're Sonny's, and these are mine.
You still read books.
Well, I look at mainly the photographs in them of artwork, pottery,
Get
music. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Good.
It is. There's more over there, and the top three are mine, my things, and the bottom three are Jeff's things. So there's a lot of music books and other subjects, I suppose. Now, but anyway, in the late 60s, after he had his accident, he was overseas, so that he hasn't even got that in here. But then he was back in Australia, and he began a love for pottery and folk music. He loved Roy Orbison apparently when he was younger, and photography. And I can just say he's got very beautiful, great skills in all these areas. Now, and he studied actually formally for a couple of years at East Sydney Tech.
Yeah.
And he studied with people who really became very prominent in the pottery field in Australia, and you've been visiting one in New South Wales recently.
Colleague.
Yeah.
At that time they were the best, and Cole still is the best potter in Australia. So Peter Rushforth, who died a few years ago, but he was...
And how old were they, or are they? Yeah.
Well, Cole is now 84.
Yeah, and how, Peter Rushforth?
He died in his 90s.
Yeah, and you were asked to actually play the ocarina at a memorial service in New South Wales for him, for Peter, and then at an exhibition of wood-fired pottery that I attended with Jeff in Montsalvat, which is a famous sort of artists' colony, but now it sort of puts on major exhibitions and that too. So, so what started off, I just think is really beautiful, is those people who Jeff really held in high esteem. They were instrumental in what now, in the whole trajectory, has become this art of the ocarina, really, that he's been developing for 30 years. So,
well, it was because of you I started on the ocarina, though. So.
Well,
I mean, I got my pottery skills through the
You're
teacher.
part of it.
But, of course, because Sunny introduced, she said, you might be, this was before I was
30
with
years
her.
ago.
Yeah, she said, you might be interested in trying to make this, because I was trying to make a transverse flute, and she brought this little ocarina into my workshop. She said, "Have a look at this," and that's when I started to make the ocarina.
Because I thought, well, he's a potter and he's a musician, and I'd bought this little clay ocarina at the big market in Melbourne, actually, from some people, and it had a little sort of booklet, you know, with a few things in it, just a little bit of paper. And a few days later, I said, "Oh, how's that going?" And he said, "Oh, there's a lot in it. There's, you know, it's not easy, but because he's very persevering, he just didn't stop. He just kept on and on and on developing the techniques he has developed now. Quite, you know, he can do quite easily, but took him a long time. But yeah, so I think it was destiny that I came here and brought that to, and he probably knew about ocarinas before then. So I don't know.
No.
But you didn't. Okay. And you know, he's just got his life. It really is very, very much tuned into musical, I suppose, folk music. So traditional tunes, melodies. He's got a great love of, particularly American, what's called American old-timey fiddle tunes. A lot of these were also from the Civil War era in America, so very beautiful music. But also there's an Australian tradition, and he attends, or we attend, quite a few occasions where the tribes of people who also captured by the love of that world, of these sorts of varieties of music, we all meet together, and Jeff gives them tunes, and then he gets tunes from them, and he tapes everything.
And you know what? I think tomorrow night Daniel is going to join us with a fiddle.
Yeah, maybe.
And play some of the tunes, the simple tunes that we play.
Yeah, they're very simple. They're not like, you know, very complicated musically, but they have a beauty that our hearts go, oh. Jeff particularly, oh, wow, that's a good tune. So what he does then, he studies it. He just learns it. He puts in the time. So to then capture that tune, he's very greedy. He knows hundreds of tunes, and he's just greedy, greedy for more and more and more.
I wouldn't use that word.
That's the word I use.
Passion.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for a bit of correction.
It's more than a passion. Gobbles them up. Yeah, but then he's just he shares them then with other people, and
yes. Therefore, the word greed doesn't fit in it, because when you're greedy, you don't do that. You don't share. You don't give. So.
But then he's got so many. He's forgotten.
In a good sense. In a good way. Yeah. Greedy is okay.
Sometimes he forgets what he actually, has learnt some great tunes a few years ago, and then they're on a tape, and he'll say, "Oh, I don't remember learning that. That's good. I'll better start playing that again." And he's actually, one of his great arts is, it's a very rare thing to be able to do. He might want to tell you about the gum leaf playing, which is the original wind instrument, I suppose, because not just gum leaves, any leaves off any trees, but because this is Australia, the gum leaf.
He did a little demonstration yesterday.
Yes, that's right. We're putting it on the barrow, and I said, let's play a little tune.
So what about the story to do?
At East Warburton, or
no, the story was Wendy. Well, yeah.
Well, I was busking in Burke Street. This is a long time ago, long before the $2 and $1 coins had come out. So I was busking in Burke Street Mall
70s?
in Melbourne.
Was it?
Yeah. And in those days, not many people were playing didgeridoo, either Aboriginal or white people. So I was quite a big crowd there watching me, listening to me playing didgeridoo in Burke Street. And I stopped playing, and people were clapping and putting a few coins in the basket, in my busking basket. And I know somebody put something underneath the basket. Normally you put into the basket, so I finished playing, I went across and pulled this little note, which was underneath the basket, and opened the note, and it said, got my glasses out and read it, and said, "I am the Australian gumleaf playing champion. I want to form a band with gumleaf players and didgeridoo players. Please ring me." So straight away I went to there was no mobiles then, I went to the public phone booth and rang her up, and she said, "I didn't put that note there. I think I know who put the note under your basket, but I'd love to meet you." And I said to her, "Well, what's gumleaf playing? I've never heard of it." She said, "Well, come around and I'll show you." So 4 hours later, she'd been showing me or trying to get me to play the gumleaf, and in 4 hours I got 2 sounds, beep, beep, that was it, off the gumleaf. And she was playing these beautiful, mainly Australian folk ballads on the gumleaf. And I thought, oh, this is another challenge. Another challenge.
A few more
so
years.
I will keep persevering with this one. So I learned how to play, and I still play. And I try and pass on that tradition of gumleaf playing now. I love to give workshops and trying to get people to play the gumleaf. Okay, it's a gum tree, and these leaves they're really old, and they're not the greatest instrument in the world, but this I can get a sound from it. So I'll just find a better leaf than that, maybe this one here. That's not the best leaf in the world, right? Okay. So if I had I'll show you another day other trees which are better leaves than that.
And some people seem to be getting it more easily. Maybe young people are getting sounds, but very few people have Jeff's perseverance for very difficult things that are not sort of really out there as, you know, the pinnacle of success in the world. But in Jeff's world, that is a pinnacle of success. And he has many actual awards. We used to have them out. I don't know where they are. They're in a bag somewhere. Because he did become the gumleaf playing champion of Australia and many other awards around it. And I don't think he's ever had them engraved with his name. They've got little plaques on. So it was really the actual art. I think because he won it once, I don't know how many times he won it, but that was something he wanted to do. And once he said to me, actually, when I first lived up here, you know, so it was probably when I was in that house at East Warburton about 28 years ago, and he'd been to Maryborough to the gumleaf playing championship, and he'd get very nervous for weeks beforehand, and he said to me around this time, he said, "I wonder what my mother would say." His mother was alive then. "I wonder what my mother would say if I became the gumleaf playing champion of Australia." She wanted me to be a doctor. And because he was very, very apparently brilliant at school and way ahead, you know, of his sort of level in classes, he had the intellect to study many professional things. But I'll let you say what you want to do. You've told me.
Well, I
You
still
want to make
have
things
no
with your
idea.
hand. No, you.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
He wanted to make things with his hands. That's what he liked doing, and that's, you know.
And therefore, presto. Da-da, da-da.
It's a turtle.
Yeah.
Turtle music.
Totally turtle.
It's a beautiful sound, really so pure. I have a little more, please. Just a little more, please.
That's a Japanese tune called Kochinusk.
The bigger they are, the deeper it is.
Okay. We can have more later. Let's go on with the presentation.
Well, what else is
yes.
in the facts that I can sort of tease out? Well, photography, he actually, I think it's in his family, from what I've noticed too, a great appreciation of fine photography, and he's all I can say is he's astounding.
Yesterday I saw this landscape and this sunlight at
the mountain.
Oh, Mount Kilimanjaro.
So
Yeah.
beautiful, absolutely sensational.
So it's very strange because he can't see well out of his eye, but he's just got a great eye for seeing something that then, somehow he captures in a perfect way. And he doesn't tend to do portraits particularly. Other things interest him, but his portraits that he's taken, which are often of children, grandchildren and other people, he's able to capture something. So I don't know, where that comes from. It's just, it's also just something he has a really natural talent for, something, the aesthetics. Yeah, the aesthetics of what can be, what he sees and,
The beauty of nature.
He's a natural, and a lot of them are just things like stains of water, how the movement of the natural environment, and how he'll rush out, he'll say, he's been out in the rain, I had to come back to my camera, there's these patterns on that stone wall the other side of the main road, and off he rushes up there with an umbrella because it's still raining, but to capture something he's seen because of the contrasts. He sees those contrasts.
I showed Daniel the photographs in that bike shop that burned many years ago, and just the beautiful paintings that were created by the fire and the smoke and the foam. So he's seen some of those.
Can you just tell us what kind of instrument he plays?
Well, he plays the mandolin and the violin. He plays guitar. So I think the story with guitar was your brother started playing flamenco, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Yeah.
What is...
he plays didgeridoo. He sings. He's got a great texture to his voice.
Well, let us get together right down here.
He's got a great style that is quite. It's a what's it called? It's a picking style. That also he learnt from someone else. So he's seen things that interest him, and then he's allowed himself to be taught by people.
And ocarina.
Yeah, and ocarina. But one thing that he or I haven't got round to learning yet, I don't know how many more years there are, is flat picking. It's called flat picking on guitar. So Jeff uses a plectrum with the mandolin, but it's a whole other sort of art form than using just your fingers. Some people use pick and fingers, but so that's sort of still we've started it a bit. And
I love sharing these instruments too, especially didgeridoo and gum leaf playing. I love to do little workshops on that to try and pass that on, because they're not commonly used, especially gum leaf playing.
And another thing that's not mentioned here, which I think is a great art he has, he'll create games for the children or for other people. I think it's sort of an influence of his own family, brothers and sisters. But we had Oh, we've had children here. We had one little grandson here for a few years, and Jeff and he used to make up these games with these big dice, and they used to create all these amazing games on the carpet with names and titles. So if the children are around and are getting a bit unruly, he'll say, "Okay, let's have a game. Let's do something," and he'll get a rubbish bin. He'll say, "Now we've got to stand here and we've got to see who can throw the paper ball in the rubbish bin," or something like that. But he's always open to some sort of an opportunity where you can spontaneously create a game. There's another one that we play that's called Hands Down that Jeff discovered, which is very noisy and hilarious, with a coin and hands on the table. So he's taught that to many of our friends as well. So they're little just everyday folky sort of things, I think, that are fun, Yet he's very serious too.
Yeah. Just got a couple of personal questions if it's okay. How long have you been together?
Well, I knew Sunny when she introduced the ocarina to me.
I think not only me, many people in the world are very jealous. Okay, envy you both. Yeah, very much. So Jeff is going to show us something today. To make something.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's see what Jeff is going to show us today. Thank you.
Well, let us get together right down here. Let us get together right down here. We shall get together right down here. Let us get together right down here. And we shall do some singing right down here. We shall do some singing right